Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. So, before we start the questions, I'm going to tell you guys. So, this is a good week. I've been telling you guys for weeks now that I'm trying to get all these compositions cleared out of my list so that I can get working on the books. And so, you know what? Let me explain a little bit about why I say that. If you don't know me and how I operate, that might sound kind of bizarre, right? Because why don't I just do the books? So what happened was back in January, I created a new structure for my workday and a structure that has been working beautifully. I get so much done now. And so it's what am I trying to say? I guess you know what? A lot of people, so most people either go to school or they have a job. Okay. And what I do is more like a self-employed person, right? And when I wake up in the morning, if I don't have structure that I create, then the whole day is wasted. I mean, seriously, literally wasted. You know, what you have to do to make a living when you don't have a job is so much more intense than, and that's what one of the things that makes it hard to be a professional trumpet player. And so, yes, I've been working with different structures over all these years, and I found something to replace my old structure. It took a while to get there. Um, and what happened in the process was I was able to now more, more detailed, more specifically hitting each of the things that need to be done because that's one of the things about me. I'm not just a trumpet player. I'm not just a teacher. I'm not just a composer. There's so many irons in the fire. So this structure helps me get all of that stuff done equally so that none of it suffers. And when I was younger, people told me I couldn't do this, that this wasn't possible, that it's not possible to be great at more than one thing. And here I am trying to do like five things. So, but it's with this structure and since I got to this new structure, there was this overabundance of compositions that needed to be published, and they were clogging up this new system. So I have been since January really trying hard to get these compositions. I think I undersold it last week. I said an hour and a half to 3 hours. I think the minimum is 3 hours per song that it takes. I forgot about some of the stuff that I have to do last time because it doesn't all go in the same column. The work that I do for one composition doesn't all go in the same column. Anyway, so the good news this week is that with the exception of like two or three final tasks, the last composition on that list is finished. I'm shifting gears this week to start working more on the books. The first book we're going to finish is already available, just the paging is wrong. And it was finished last year, I think. And it's just been sitting there waiting for me to edit it. I just need to like change the pages because in order to be distributed, the books have to have the headings on the right side, the front side of the page, not the back side of the page. And when I uploaded it, for some reason, you have to get a draft copy of the book and check it, make sure it's all right before they distribute it, and the paging is wrong. So I've been waiting. I just have to go through and fix the paging. So, and then after that, and it makes a little bit more. It's not just that simple, because the number of pages also has to be right. And so like at the end, you're supposed to have at least 2 blank pages or they won't distribute. And that you can't just, they do everything in pages of groups of 4 pages. So you can't just like add pages on the inside and expect that last part to work out. Okay. So that's the only thing waiting. That's the One Range book. I'm very excited about the One Range book. There's people who have already bought it in its unpublished form. And I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from that book already. And it's not even published yet. So it's kind of cool, actually, that I haven't published it yet. So anyway, so I have one question that I'm going to answer that came in from an email. Other than that, feel free to add your questions here. Now, I do expect these. Oh, I closed it. I do expect these weekly, because that's how things go. There's nothing in life that's consistent all the time, right? You look at the stock market, you look at your heartbeat, you look at the weather. Nothing in life. Sorry about that. Wait a second. Where did that go? Okay, so there's nothing in life that is always steady. Okay, when you look at the weather, the temperature goes up, the temperature goes down, stock market up and down. And if you don't have an understanding behind the changes, then it really looks random. Right? And so I do anticipate. So we've had some good, very participating, a lot of people participating on these question and answer. I do expect it to go up and down like that. Okay. So, the whole YouTube thing, I've always been a contradiction, right? I'm like a walking contradiction. I'm the guy that says that I tell people, and it makes people mad actually. I'll tell people that I learned how to play high without practicing high. That makes people angry. The ones who think that you have to practice high to play high, right? Makes them angry. I'm also the same guy that says I compete by not competing. Makes people angry because they think you have to have that competitive spirit to win. And I've never been like that. And I've won plenty. I've won when it comes to competition, both formal and informal. I've won more than my share. And I don't compete. And I feel the same way about this YouTube stuff. And, if I have a video that only gets 10 views, well, do you know what? The way I see it is maybe that person, maybe there was one person out of that 10 that really needed that, whatever it was. And I'm not just talking about the stuff I say, the information I have to share. I'm not even just talking about that. Sometimes you should see some of the comments I get, especially more privately, where people will write and tell me that something I shared on YouTube of my playing, people will say that was exactly what they needed exactly that day. So to me, it doesn't matter. I'm not part of that. You could call it a rat race, you could call it a rat race, but I don't really care how many. I don't need to be part of that. Where like in YouTube, when you look at YouTube, everyone's like trying to get more views and trying to get more subscribers, and I'm, I used to out of duty, I used to say at the end, like and subscribe, right? Because that's what everyone else was doing. And then I thought, you know what? That's not who I am. So I stopped saying all that. I'm not here to try to get you to subscribe. I'm not here to, you know. Anyway, um, let me answer some questions. So, Wendell, your question was the one I was about to answer. So somehow, well, okay, so this is a different question. So you know what? Let me tell you. So here's Wendell's question for those of you who can't see, and I'm saying this for the benefit of the people later, because some people can't access these questions. Okay, someone somehow screwed up my already limited chops trying to do whisper tones within the last couple days, thinking the best is just rest for a day or more and soft playing. So let me explain the relationship between playing high and playing soft. You know, there's this famous trumpet exercise by Cat. Now I'm drawing a blank on his name. Cat Anderson, I think is his name. I don't know why I can't remember his name. Cat Anderson. They call it the 30-minute G, and basically you play as soft as you can for 30 minutes. That's how he claims that he got his phenomenal high range. And as far as high note players go, I don't think there's anything more impressive than Cat Anderson. I think his name is Cat Anderson. I don't think there's anything more impressive than Cat Anderson. And when you look at the science behind that, okay, to play high, you need a small aperture. To play soft, you need a small aperture. So his thing made a lot of sense, because if you could play extremely soft and control your aperture to make it that small, then you're also doing physically what you need to do to play that high. Okay? Now just looking at this, because the situation that you're talking about here, Wendell, is not something I've encountered before, but I can see how it would be possible. I can see how by playing soft, you could be stressing your lips out in terms of like strength. I shouldn't have said stress. Fatiguing your lips just as much as playing high. Because to make the embouchure that compact, you would have to have the same kind of muscular control. So when we play louder, it takes a lot of the muscular strain off of the lips. That's why there are so many people that are so into the whole breathing thing and the powerful air thing. The air balances against the resistance to create the sound. If you reduce the air, and that's what whisper tones are, kind of, you can't do whisper tones with powerful air. So if you reduce the air, the balance shifts, and you have to work harder in the chops, which is good for you. Now, if what we don't want to do is do too much of that. You know, I think so. It's different with Cat Anderson, because you could kind of call him a specialist. For those of us that are not trying to specialize in high notes, and we want to have a more overall rounded skill set, then doing too much of anything is not a good idea. Doing too much long tones, we don't want to do too many long tones. We don't want to do too many lip slurs. We don't want to do, and believe me, I've tried all of it. I went through all those steps, right? I was thinking, okay, so if long tones are good for you, I'll do a whole bunch of long tones, and that's disastrous. If lip slurs are real good for you, do a lot of lip slurs. No, that's disastrous. That's what made me crash and burn when I was in college, is that kind of approach, you know, well, if ibuprofen is good for my headache, then let me take a 10 ibuprofen. No, that's not a good thing. Right? So I think a day of rest is always good. All right. But I do think that if you're going to be doing whisper tones, a lot of them, I like whisper tones. I don't like them in the context of the routine. Now, let me tell you the routine. When it comes to volume, um, now I have this rule for volume that applies to the individual. Now, this is different. We have to adjust this for playing in an ensemble. Okay? But I have this rule for volume, not rule, structure, whatever you want to call it. Mezzo forte is the most comfortable volume that you play. Okay? So whatever you do mechanically to play, okay, that's mezzo forte. Now, mezzo piano is 1 degree less comfortable than mezzo forte. Piano is 2 degrees less comfortable than mezzo forte. Pianissimo, 3 Ps, is 3 degrees less comfortable. I don't think of it, so I'm talking physically, right? I'm not thinking in terms of volume, but it produces the correct volume, okay? And it's going to be different from one person to the next, because what's comfortable changes as you mature, okay? So we have those different degrees. Now, when we first start off, we may only be able to play comfortable and then uncomfortable. We may not be able to do degrees of discomfort. But the same thing applies for going louder. We have mezzo forte is comfortable. Forte is 1 degree less comfortable. Fortissimo is 2 degrees less comfortable. Okay? So which one should you use in the routine? In the routine, it should be mezzo forte. We're looking for full volume, but nothing past what's comfortable. That's what we want in the routine. Okay? And this should give you that balance that takes a little bit of the strain off of the lips. Now, the purpose of the routine is not necessarily to build your chops. The chop building, when you do the routine, and by the way, we're talking about my Chops Express book or the Daily Routines book or the Chops series that I'm working on right now. Okay? So the volume we want, the dynamic we want for those routines should be just at your most comfortable loud, right? Mezzo forte throughout the whole thing. And what I was saying is that the strength does not come from, it's not like when you do exercises, right? You're doing the exercise and then the muscles tear down and then you build up the muscles, because it's more complicated than that. Stronger muscles don't necessarily create stronger chops. Sometimes you get strength before you're ready for it. And it's sort of like the we don't hear this term anymore, but back when I was a kid, you heard people talking about people who were muscle bound. Okay? And if you strengthen the muscles in your chops before you have the skill to use that strength, it's sort of like having the trumpet equivalent of being muscle bound. For some reason, my camera went out of focus. Let me see this. It's still out of focus. Sorry about that, guys. Maybe I'm not in the right. Anyway, so what we want to do is be more, build that skill. Now that's where the routines come in. The routines actually help you develop those skills. Okay? Not so much the chops. The chops, you know what? I actually come to, at this stage in my life, as a teacher, as a performer, I actually think the chop building is one of the easiest things. This other stuff I'm talking about, that's the hard thing. Getting all of this stuff to coordinate. You have the air coordinated with the resistance. I'm in focus now. And the resistance actually has to coordinate because there's different sources of resistance. Those have to coordinate within each other. And the whole point of the routine is to get those things to start coordinating. You don't have to, it's amazing, really. And I say amazing, and I know I said this last week too. It's amazing in the sense to me, because I didn't plan any of this when I wrote the routine. Okay? This was not something I designed into the routine. This is something that just was natural. I don't take credit for it. I think it was divinely inspired. I know that sounds nuts, but I do believe things work that way. So the way the routine is set up, if you follow those exercises in that order and do it, there's certain things that are involved in doing them correctly. Like, for example, we don't ever drill the exercises. If the exercises wasn't perfect, you just keep going. You just keep going, right? So if you do it if you stop and you drill the exercises, you're not getting the full benefit. It's not the exercises that are helping you. It's that order of the exercise, going through that sequence of exercises. That's what gives you the skills that we're talking about. And doing it daily, every day like that. Okay? So now in your email, and I was about to answer this, you had asked if it's okay to do the range limiting, come down 1 or even 2. I've done that many, many times in my career. I started this alternation in the early 90s, and there have been many weeks in my career when I was just too tired. And there was a week coming up. I didn't want to take the week off. So I would pull down 3 levels and do that rotation just for a week. And you know what? When I do that, it's like supercharging. You actually get supercharged. Now, I don't know what context you were trying to do whisper tones. My opinion about whisper tones, they should not be part of the routine. So you should be daily doing the routine. And then after that, if you want to do whisper tones, then you can experiment with that, like 5 minutes or whatever. Nothing severe. But when you're doing the routine, it should be full comfortable volume. Okay? Well, I hope that answers the question. So let's go on to the next question. Let's see. Can you play in the center ring? I don't know what the center ring is. I actually made All-State last year, and I was watching all the YouTube vids on the can I play the center ring? I don't know what that means. Okay. If you can tell me what that means, can you play the center ring? Center ring. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. Let me look it up real quick. I have no clue what that means. I'm not seeing anything on a Google search. So if you can come back and say what it is you mean by play the center ring, play in the center ring. Are you talking about the embouchure? Can you play in the center ring? Let me show you something, just in case that's what you're asking about. I know that sometimes people ask questions and then they have something else they have to do and they'll come back. Oh, in the center ring is a song. Can I play it? Well, probably not if I don't know the song. I have no clue what that is. Okay, so thank you for telling me what that is. In this, I'll have to put that on my list of things to check out. I'm making a note to myself to see what that is. I thought you were gonna ask me. I thought you were asking about, because they talk about don't play in the pink. There's a recording of it on YouTube. Okay, I'll check it out. Thank you. So I thought maybe you were talking about playing too low in the red. But we won't go there today if that's not what you were asking. Okay. So what Wendell was asking in the email is about range limiting. And that's part of my practice system that I teach my students, and I use it myself. I actually develop my range. Remember I said at the beginning of the beginning of this question answer session, I told you about the how contradictory I am about like things like how I compete without competing. I was explaining how I don't really care how many people watch these videos, right? If just one person benefits, then it's worth it to me, right? I don't need to be famous. I don't need to be venerated or anything like that. I don't need people to like me. And I do believe that the fact that I can be that way is all rooted in my faith as a Christian. I don't need that because I have the other. Anyway, so that's a tangent. So talking about this range limitation thing, I do believe that we build chops through range limiting, not by shooting for higher notes, but by limiting our range so that all of our exercises go up to that limit, all of our music goes up to that limit. Now you change it for different. So one day a week we go we don't go as high as we can, but we go to our full range and try to push ourselves. Okay, but this what we were talking about, the range limiting. I believe that depending on how good you are, I believe that let me see, 6 minus 1, 5. So 4 or 5 days of the week, you should be limiting your range, not pushing it. Only one day of the week, you should go to your full range. Never above your full range. That's one of my things, right? Never practice higher than your current range. So, and then on other days, besides that one day that you're pushing to your full range, the rest of the time is not to your full range. And that's how I got the chops that I've got. And I know that it's weird. Nobody else teaches that. Well, we're all different, right? We're all different individuals. I don't have the problems that a lot of those guys have. Maybe I have other problems, but I don't have those problems. Okay? And that's why, is because I do this range limiting. So can you make all state recordings with the backing tracks? Yes, that's on my list. It's just been a little bit slow lately. I might have to make my own track for the ballad because I don't like the track they've got. Let me put this on a reminder list also. Yeah, they've got some weird groove with the ballad. I don't know what's going on with that. Um, it almost sounds like there's a double time underneath it. You know what it sounds like? It sounds like maybe they did the ballad um, at double tempo. It just has a very, very bizarre groove behind it. So it's not bad. I just don't like it. And there's nothing wrong with not liking stuff. That's not a criticism. You know, I think people get too bent out of shape now. But I'm not going to go there. That's anyway. So, all right. So let's take a look. Any other questions? There are some things I wanted to talk about. Let's see here. Okay, so sorry for stalling here. Let's see. Um, you know, I can't find it. I had a list here of questions. If there's no other questions, I think we'll stop early this time. Um, or earlier. There's no early. I mean, I never had a planned. I couldn't go past an hour and a half in the past, and I can't go past an hour and a half today. But I don't think we've ever done a half hour. So, but if nobody else has questions, we will move on. I'll give you guys a few seconds while I'm waiting. Let me see. What can I tell you about the books coming up? So I'm very excited. I told you guys last week we've got like a, a dozen books at least in the works already. I'm hoping to have 5 of them done by the first of the year, but I shouldn't say that. So you know what? When I say hoping, that doesn't mean I have a plan to finish it already. What am I saying? I mean, I have a plan. Of course, I have a plan, but I can't say for sure, absolutely certain, that all those books are going to be done by that time. Okay, but that's what I'm shooting for. Um, and so once we get into January, I will start like going back and forth between the compositions and the books and the compositions and the books back and forth like that. All right, so there's no more questions. Thank you guys. It's kind of a good day for me to quit early anyway because, well, I won't say that, but this is a good day for me to stop early. Anyway, you know what? You guys can send questions through my website and I can, so let's put it this way. For those of you who can't be here on Saturday morning for the live one, but you have questions you want answered, feel free. This is the way we're going to start doing this from now on. Feel free to contact me through my website. I can't just give my email out because then people will spam it. Contact me through my website, and then give me the question that you have. And then when this Saturday thing comes up, I will read your question and we'll answer it that way. Okay, that seems like one of the better ways to do this. All right. Well, anyway, God bless you guys. We'll see you on the next video and have a good day. Bye.